Hakadosh Boker Or, Masechet Sotah Daf Kaf Amud Aleph 28:1. So we now are going to ask a contradiction, Kasha de Rabbi Kiva, contradiction in the words of Rabbi Akiva, right? Which means in the first Braita and the second Braita. Hatam, over there in the first Braita, Amar, he says, Mechika me'akva, which means that the erasing of the Megillat Sotah, right, is needed, right, in order to give her to drink Bal Kurcha. Because as long as it was not erased, she could always retract and says that I don't want it. But if it was already erased, right, they force her. And even if it was going to be done, Shelo Kadin, meaning it was erased before the bringing of the comets or whatever it is, still you're going to force her. The Hechal in the second Braita, comets Makev, he said, no, the comets is Makev, only if they came and they actually brought the Kmitza. And then you could force her to drink, but not if beforehand. Answers the Gemara, this we keep on saying a few times. Remember? Two Tanaim, and then according to the Shita of Rabbi Akiva, which is, 100%. You see? That sometimes you have two different students saying the same Shita, the rabbi.
But in the Braita, it says that it's from Rabbi Akiva.
Yes, both of them say Rabbi Akiva. But then you have a stira.
But it's not from Rabbi Akiva. It's the opinion of two different.
Yeah, but it's in Rabbi Akiva. For example, I'm going to say this is the opinion of Rabbi this one. And you're going to say it's the opinion of Rabbi this one, but we both heard it from the same rabbi. So I'm quoting that rabbi, you're quoting that rabbi. We were saying contradictory things. What's the answer? We both understood differently the halakha of Rabbi Akiva, but we were always going to Rabbi Akiva. It wasn't like we're on our own. You understand? And we're on. How do you call that when you're on your freelancer or whatever? You're going in that shita.
It was his opinion at that time.
So now we have another question. Amra eni shota mechamat briuta. V'chazra ve'amra shotani. Mao. What happens if she comes and she says, I don't want to drink? Now when she said it, right, she said that because it's health reasons. Then afterwards she comes and she says, no, I'm going to drink it. What's halacha? According to Rabbi Akiva, should we come and make her drink or not? Why? Because according to Rabbi Akiva, remember, only according to Rabbi Akiva's shita was that if she says any shota, it's ki'ilu she already said tmeani. It's ki'ilu that she already said that she's tmeah, but she doesn't want to drink. So once she says that she's tmeah, she can retract. Or maybe, right? Maybe she said that she doesn't want to drink. It was only because she was afraid. But as if it had nothing to do with being afraid, why all of a sudden now change? What changed? Maybe now she's not afraid anymore. But really, so we don't have an answer. That means if she comes and she retracts and says, I'm going to drink, we don't know what to do with her. So Amar Avua, there's only according to Rabbi Akiva. Okay? Amar Avua, the Shmuel says Avua, the Shmuel, Tzarik she'iten mar letoch hamayim. You have to put something which is bitter in the waters in order to give her to drink. My Talmud's reasoning, Tamaka mea marim. What does it mean mea marim? You have to put in the bitter waters. Shemarim fart, it was already bitter. Meaning we learn from here, it's not that the waters become bitter because you put the cloth inside and then you have all the letters and that. No. It's already bitter waters. Therefore, you have to put something in the waters to be bitter even from the beginning, and that's what we learn from the father of Shemuel. Says a Mishnah. Mishnah says, Ad shelo nimchaka megillah amra eni shota, megillata nignezet. If right now it was not erased, right, the Megillah, and now she says, I'm not going to drink it, we put it in Genizah. So that makes sense. Why? You wrote it, but you didn't know it, so put it in Genizah. Fine. Uminchata mitpazeret. What does that mean? And you're going to burn the mincha. Ala deshen, on the leftovers of the deshen in the Azara. But you cannot give it to another sotah to drink. Meaning here it's something incredible. The Megillah was written lishma, for her sake. Just like a get is written for the person's sake, so to the Megillah was written for her sake, which means you cannot use that Megillah sotah for another woman. What happens is now? What happens now if the Megillah was erased and she says Tmeani? Imagine, they erased the Megillah and then she says Tmeani. She actually did commit infidelity. So what happens? Hamay mishpachim, they pour it out. Right? Why? Because the second that she says Tmeani, she's already biduka ve'omenet, and therefore there's no purpose of giving her to drink. Minchata mipazeret al bet hadeshen, and then we come and we burn the korban mincha. Nimchaka Megillah ve'amra eni shota, but it was already erased and she says she doesn't want to drink it. Then we force her to drink it. What happens if she doesn't even have enough time to drink it? What does it mean to drink it? Really, here it says, that she doesn't finish drinking it, because it doesn't make sense that it was even beforehand, even though we're going to explain what does that mean. Okay? So he says over here, what happens if she doesn't finish drinking it until her face already starts becoming white, and then her eyes start bulging out, and then she like all the gidim, the sinews, they start sticking out, like the veins, they start popping out. They say, get her out of here. In order not to be metameh the azara. Now, if she has a zechut, we could say that the zechut will help her, that she won't die immediately. Yesh zechut tola shana achat. Do you know that there's a certain type of zechut that will make her wait 1 year before dying? Yesh zechut tola shtesha. There's one which is 2 years. Yesh zechut tola shalosha. There's one which is even 3 years. Nikana omer ben Azai. Therefore, Ben Azai says, chayav adam lememed bito Torah. A person is obligated to teach his daughter Torah. Shem tishteh, right? Because if she's going to drink, then what's going to happen? We're going to know that it's because of the Torah that's saving her. And it's not going to be motzi las on the waters. Because imagine right now, if a person doesn't teach his daughter Torah, and she drinks, and nothing happens immediately, what am I going to say? This is hocus pocus. You really think that the waters they're going to start making her blow up? And what is this? What is this? You understand? But if you come and you teach your daughter Torah, they could say, no. You know what it is? It's because your daughter was learning Torah. So it could take a year, 2 years, or 3. It could take a little bit of time. Don't think that you drink it and magic and that's it. No.
It says
wait.
He should teach her Torah so she doesn't.
So now comes Rabbi Eliezer and he says, Torah, if you're going to teach your daughter Torah, it's like you're teaching her tiflut, immorality, right? So he comes and he says, things which are not good. Now, we're going to see in the Gemara exactly why is this and so on and so on. Yeshua says, you know that a woman would prefer 1 kav and tiflut than 9 kavin and prishut. The Gemara is going to explain this as well. What are you talking about here? That a woman wants, 1 and what's going on? We'll explain. He used to say, Chasid Shoteh, Rasha Arum, Risha Prusha, Umako Prushin, Harelu Mevale Olam. A Chasid Shoteh, right? Or a Rasha Arum, Isha Prusha. We're going to explain. Rasha Arum, we're going to explain. Each one of them, we're going to explain, right? What does this mean? What are we talking about exactly? We're talking about that a person that Kilu is showing himself that he's a Navan and Tsanua, and really Be'emet he's not, but we're going to explain. We're going to see in the Gemara. Okay? Okay? Fine. Says the Gemara. Amar Rav Yehuda Mashmuel, says Rav Yehuda Mashmuel, the name of Rabbi Meir. Keshayiti lamed Torah at Rabbi Kiva. When I used to learn Torah by Rabbi Kiva, I used to put kankuntum inside of dio, okay, because I used to write kitvei HaKodesh. V'lo amar li davar, and I never did anything. Meaning that Rabbi Kiva never told me anything. Right? That means this was my minhag. I used to put the kankuntum inside of the dio. It's like a chomer that they put inside of the dio in order that it should stay strong. So, like, he's telling you how would he make the ktav. He was a sofer, so it was like thicker. So he says, "Kashibati tzal Rishmael." When I went to Rishmael, Amali, he told me, "B'ni, ma melechdecha, what do you do?" Amarti lo, I told him, "Lavlalani, I'm a sofer." Amali, he said, "B'ni, you should be very careful. Shema tachziro tachat or totira. Maybe you're going to make 1 extra letter, lack a letter, and you're going to destroy the entire world." Amarti lo, he says, I have something which I put inside of the dio. What, you're allowed to do that? So you're not supposed to put the kankantum inside of it. So therefore, basically, we're going to now try to find out, because how could it be that Rabbi was doing this and Rabbi Akiva never said anything, and all of a sudden now you're saying that Rabbi Ishmael is telling him that you're not supposed to do that, you're not allowed to do that. So
what is the kankantum?
It says, what exactly did Rabbi Ishmael tell Rabbi Meir? What did Rabbi Meir answer? What's the connection between that he's matil konkuntum and all these things? So hachi kamale. This is what it means to sound. Lo mibai bechasero v'yeterot. Right, the bakiana. Don't come and say to do with the, what's chaser, what's yoter. Sometimes you have an extra letter. Sometimes you have lacking letter. For example, this week's parasha, you had a missing letter. It said the word yadav, and in the Torah it's written yado. You understand? Things like that. So it's the extra yod. There was no yod there. Right? Because maybe you're going to suspect even a fly that will come. It's going to come and sit on top of the tag of the dalit. It's going to erase it. Umashvi lereish, and then it's going to make it into a reish. And put something which is called kankantum, and therefore it cannot be erased. So says the Gemara, any is so but he said the exact opposite. Meaning, according to now, it comes out that it was the exact opposite. When he used to learn by Rabbi Ishmael would not tell him anything. But when he went to Rabbi Kiva told him there was a su. Not the exact opposite of what we have. So kasha shimush kasha asra asra. First of all, you have a contradiction between the shimush of Rabbi Meir and the shimush of the second one, which is basically, who did he learn first by? Rabbi Kiva, Rabbi Ishmael, or Rabbi Ishmael by Rabbi Kiva? Meaning, who was the first rabbi and who was the second rabbi? Who's the first yeshiva or the second yeshiva? Second question is going to be, who's the one that's so said? Is it really Rabbi Kiva or is it really Rabbi Ishmael? Everyone understood? One more time. Maybe you're going to say, you know what? There's no contradiction to do the shimush and the shimush. You know why? He comes and he says, maybe at the beginning he came to Rabbi Kiva. And since Rabbi Meir was not able to understand the Chokhmah, then he came to Rabbi Ishmael, the Gamar Gamra. So then he learned by Rabbi Ishmael. And then he came back to Rabbi Kiva to start learning. Right? So therefore, to do the Shimush, maybe you could say, listen, he went to Rabbi Kiva first. He realized that he's not getting as much because it's way too high. You know what I mean? The level is way too high. So what does he do? He went back to Rabbi, right? To Rabbi Ishmael. He went to Rabbi Ishmael, he learned there. And once he mastered in Rabbi Ishmael's yeshiva, then he went back to Rabbi Kiva, and then he really learned. So that's it. But according to the Asara Kashia, how do you answer it? Says the Gemara, Kashia, you're right. We don't have an answer. Meaning we don't know who was the one that really was Osed, and who was the one that was really Mati. We don't know who it was. Somebody was for sure Osed. We don't know if it was Rabbi Ishmael or Rabbi Kiva. We don't know who. That's going to be okay. Tanya, we learned in the Braita. Rabbi Yudah and Rabbi Yudah says, Rabbi Meir used to say, La kol matilin kudud doch dio. Do you know for all kitvi hakodesh you could put kuntum inside of the dio? Right? Kafa mubet. Right? 20b. Chutz mi parashat sotah bilvad, except for parashat sotah. Okay? Rabbi Hechal v'omer mishmar Rabbi Yaakov says, Chutz mi parashat sotah shel mikdash. Except for the parashat sotah, which was written for every single sotah. The parashat sotah in the Sefer Torah could be written with kankantum. So now it comes out, this is a completely different, this is now like in the left field. Now we're coming and saying, really be'emet, for everything you could write with kankantum. But now there's going to be a difference.
What's with the erasing?
With the erasing, exactly. It has to be that it doesn't erase. So, but it has to be erased. But it says it has to be erased only by the what? By the sotah. But that's the purpose. You have to erase it. Because if you, so there's machloket, does that mean that even parashat sotah in the Torah, you have to make it erasable? Or is it, no. Even the entire Torah, you could make it erased. But if you're going to write Megillat Sotah in the Beit HaMikdash, that has to be in order to be erased. Which makes sense, because at the end of the day, what does it help if you cannot erase it? You understand? So then that's nothing. So maybe now what's the difference between them? Rabbi Yirmiyah says, to erase Parashat Sotah, which is written in the Torah, that's the question, that's a machloka between them or not. Does it have to be permitted? Does it have to be like that you could be able to erase it from the Torah or not? This is actually machloka tanaim. The Tanya was learned to the Braita. Okay, we just said that you're not allowed to come, right? And you're not allowed to make her drink from another Megillat Sotah. No, it is permitted. So you see from here that if he's coming, he's going to tell you that it's permitted to make another one drink. It comes out that you can even take one from the Torah, which let's say the rest of the Torah is falling apart or whatever. So instead of putting the entire thing in Geniza, you take Megillat Sotah from there, and then you put it in the water, and that's it. And it would be permitted. But if you're going to tell me that it has to be Lishmana, so you can't do that. Some Rafa says, maybe it's not true. When did the Tanakama say over there? Because if you made it Lishum Rachel, so lo adra minatzka Lishum Leah, so now you can't do it to fix Leah. Meaning, you did it for Rachel, you can't use it for Leah. But here in the Sefer Torah, it's written stam without anybody. So therefore you could erase it. Meaning, even if you're going to tell me now, right, that you cannot erase it from one, or not use it from one woman to another, that's only because it was made for Mrs. A and now Mrs. B. But in the Torah, it's not made for any Mrs. It's made in general. So it's made in general. Maybe you could do that. You could use it for anybody that you want.
You don't have to have the kavanah of the...
Nachman bar Yitzchak says, maybe it's not true. When are we talking about? Only by Megillah. Because it's written to do with the Alot, all the different curses. Aval Torah l'itamed ktiva, but to do the Torah, maybe you cannot. Meaning like this: the entire purpose of the Megillat Sotah was because of all the curses that are written there, and then she has to come and she has to drink it. So there, I would say, you know what? There, right? Maybe you could come because at the end of the day, it was written for the curse of the Sotah. The Torah was not written for the curse. The Torah was written only that you should learn how to do Parashat Sotah. So therefore, there you cannot. Meaning the exact opposite. You thought that the Torah was more lenient, that you could use it for any woman, but for one woman to another one, you cannot use it. Now we're v'nafochu. That's the exact opposite logic. The Torah, you cannot use it at all. Why? Because it was only written just to learn how to do Parashat Sotah. But if it's going to be written for one woman, 1 second, there it's written for the curses involved, so you can use it for another one. What's the problem?
The Torah is just bracha.
The Torah is just.
See, they're using the klalot that are in Kitavo. It's actually
fine. That's something you're getting very mystical. We're talking about that. It's not for any curse. It's not for anything. It's just for learning. That's it. It's a guide. It's not the application. It's a guide. You understand? It's like you call it the prescription. Right? The prescription doesn't cure you. The prescription just gives a guide to the pharmacist of what medicine to give you. Okay? So then he says, "V'chi Rabbi Achai bar Yoshia le'le katav legesh l'ishto v'nimlach b'tzau ben id amar shmi k'shmicha v'shem ishti kishem shishtecha." So what's the difference in a get? If somebody writes a get for somebody, for his wife, and all of a sudden he finds somebody else, he says, "Oh, 1 second, you're John Doe ben John Doe, yeah." And 1 second, your wife is also John Doe, Jando, right? The bat Jando. So 1 second, here, take the get, the chavod, right? You said you were having problems, no? So here, the chavod, yeah. How do we know that you can do that? Because it says mifurash by a get, you're not allowed to do that. It has to be lishmo v'lishma. I mean, even though the names are the same, so when you're going to look at the document, it all looks the same. It doesn't help. It has to be lishmo v'lishma. It has to be for the one that's divorcing and for the divorcee. It has to be for them. So what's the difference? Also, Megillat Sotah shouldn't be different than a get. So Amri, we said hatam there. It says gekatav lah. You have to write it for her. Even the ketiva has to be done lishma for her sake. So it says the Gemara Hachanami, but here also it said ve'asala. You have to do it for her. So even the making should be mayasiya mechika, the racing. He says no, sorry, this is the answer. The answer is what is the mechika? What is the asiya? The racing. Meaning you're right. The writing of it could be done for anybody. The racing has to be done lishma, not the writing. So therefore, that's why that means you could write it for Mrs. Whoever it is, Jendo, right? But the racing has to be done lishma. Fine, 2 dots. One of them she didn't even have enough time to finish the drink, and then all of a sudden her face starts becoming big. Mani, who is this? Rabbi Shimoni. Obviously, it's like Rabbi Shimon that you first bring the korban mincha, and then afterwards you may give her to drink. As long as she didn't bring the korban, okay, water does not check her out. This minchat zikaron is maskeret avon, meaning what reminds of the sin or korban. So according to this, even if she drank the water will not do anything until she brings the korban, right? So therefore, obviously, this opinion is an opinion of Rabbi Shimon that she first brings the korban and then she drinks. Because if she already brought the korban, now she drinks, automatically it's going to work. Because if you hold like the other opinion that she's only bring the korban afterwards, the water doesn't check her until afterwards. Because the water doesn't check her until after she brings her korban.
So the water is acting very fast.
No, that means obviously it's working very fast, but it has to go according to Rabbi Shimon that she already brought the korban.
Just for that, they
exactly.
discuss about the thing that it works
exactly
like a COVID test.
No, it doesn't say.
It's
no, right away. No, it doesn't say it. Ema seifa. So let's see the seifa. Yesh la zechut hayta tolala. So 1 second. If she has a zechut, so she can depend upon the zechut. That goes according to the Rabbanan. To eat Rabbi Shimon, it's going to be according to Rabbi Shimon. Hamar en zechut tola b'manim. Do you know, according to Shitat Rabbi Shimon, he says there's no such thing as a zechut that helps. Meaning, she could have all the zechuyot in the world. She could be the biggest tzadeket. If she committed adultery, infidelity, kadisha Israel. There's nothing what to do. There's no such thing as a zechut helping her.
No, the zechut is not supposed to save her. The zechut is supposed to delay.
Yeah.
No, well, you're right. But meaning that it doesn't even delay according to Shita. According to Shita, we cannot tolerate it, which means that it's going to happen right away. According to Shitat Rabbi Shimon.
It's worse with delay because she.
So he comes down and he says like this. He says, fine, so who is this then? So he says that according to Shitat of according to Rabbanan, according to Rabbi Shimon, it does not help. That he says that you're going to bring the mincha and then you're going to make a drink. He holds like Rabbanan, that it does help her. and therefore it could push off the punishment. Fine. Then they used to come and they used to say, get her out of there. Why? Because if her eyes are already bulging out and everything, she's going to die in the middle of the Bet HaMikdash. They don't want that. So they're going to say, get her out of here. My time, I was reasoning, the Dilma Meta, that maybe she's going to die. The Memra the Meta, what? If she dies, she's not going to be inside of the Harabait. You're allowed to go ahead. Even the deceased itself. Because it says, so what's the problem? They're giving her to drink, not in the Kodesh HaKodeshim, not in the Azarat Kohanim. They're already there. So what's the problem?
The
Huh?
The gate.
Exactly. So Amar Abaye comes and he says, yeah, Shema Tifros Nida. He says, no, maybe because of the pachad of the Maim Amarim, she's going to become a Nida, and Nida is a Surah B'Labiyah, not because of the that she's going to die. Rather, she's going to become a Nida. So says the Gemara, says what? Are you going to tell me now that when she becomes afraid, she becomes a Nida? So he says, yes. She became a Nida. So says the Gemara, what are you talking about? We learned in the Mishnah that it takes it away. So he says, Pachta Samit, you're right. If it's going to be a Deaga, which is a long time, it stops the blood from coming out. But if it's a Be'ala, and immediately you just got scared, Merapia, it's going to make her into a Nida. This we already learned in Ilchot Nida. You remember, Doctor? In Ilchot Nida and Smichat Chaver, we learned this. That when a woman becomes afraid, immediately, like a sudden thing, she becomes a Nida. But if it's going to be that a long time, like a Holocaust scenario, that it takes away the blood. Fine. Yeshla Zechut, Haita Tolah. Whether it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, Mani Matzitini, who is our Mishnah? He says, Abba, Allah Yosef Bar Chanan. It's not Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanan. And it's not Rabbi Elazar ben Yitzchak Shkvar Darom. Not like Rabbi Ishmael. The Tanya was learned in a Braita. In Yeshla Zechut, if you have a Zechut, Tolala, right? You're going to wait even for 3 months, in order to wait if she's pregnant. Divrei Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanan. These are the words of Yosef Bar Chanan. Rabbi Elazar ben Yitzchak Shkvar Darom Omer. Rabbi Elazar ben Yitzchak Shkvar Darom says, you're going to wait for 9 months to get her punishment. That's our minhag say that. Which is 9 months. Was 9 months is pregnancy. Ishmael says 12 months, right? Even though we don't have a proof, there's a hint to a dichtiv which says lahen malka milki yishpar alayich. What does that mean? He says ata hamelech, my etzah is good in your eyes. Chatiach b'tzaka pruk, and your right chatotecha lidei tzedakah, but you're going to redeem it. And you're going to come, you're going to redeem, right, with the chaninat aniyim, by giving them, basically you're not going to collect the taxes, even if they're not going to be fitting for tzedakah. So therefore, this is going to be a roch, right, that the puranut is not going to come immediately. Even it's written in Kol HaMental Nevuchot HaMelka, right, that all the puranut that came to Nebuchadnezzar HaMelech, even it's written, it took 12 months. Meaning from here we learned that if over there was written that because he did all these things, he wasn't going to get the calamities before 12 months. So here you see that until 12 months, they could actually wait. And therefore it's going to come. Which one?
Yetzruya?